Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. This is our 506th session. We've been doing these sessions from 2008, since 2008. So it's been a very long journey of being with you every week on a consistent, regular basis, and learning a lot about what you are doing and trying to add value to your process through our online interactions. The event is being recorded. We have every single recording available on the 1M1M Roundtables channel on LinkedIn, on YouTube. On Twitter, we are at 1M1M and at Romana. You're welcome to follow us on either of those. These are the call-in instructions. This is a roundtable, not a broadcast. You're very welcome to call in and interact. And we will have lots of time for call-in discussions today. Let me start off, however, with a bunch of entrepreneur discussions. For those of you who are presenting today, please know that this is a safe working session. We are completely on your side. There is no other agenda besides working with you, on your business and trying to figure out how to put one foot before the other and remove obstacles. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly okay. It's your venture. You will play it the way you want. Our goal is to add value to your process. We're going to start today's session with a conversation with Abe Lederman. And let me set some context for what's going on here in this conversation. This is not a presentation. Maureen will share with you in the public chat one of my recently published post-COVID startup ideas. And for those of you who are looking for startup ideas, by all means, look in the post-COVID startup ideas that I have published. Now, Abe has picked up one of these ideas. Abe has been part of the 1 million by 1 million program for several years earlier on, and then he's come back and rejoined the program, and he is interested in executing on one of those ideas that I have published. So we have started brainstorming on this. We've had a couple of discussions already, and we're going to continue that discussion. The idea that Abe has decided to pursue is one of creating interesting travel experiences for employees on behalf of corporations. So corporations have lots of employees, and in these days of work from home and remote work, there is an opportunity for employees who want to travel or go live in a different culture and a different environment, to just go off somewhere and work remotely from a different destination. So that's the idea that Abe is working on. Maureen, could you also put in the idea separately, the one that Abe is working on? It's just travel experiences, facilitating travel experiences one. Abe, please unmute your line and let's start the discussion.
Okay, well, thank you, Sharmana. So as I always do, I make lists of questions. So I have a decent-sized list of questions, comments. Okay, the first one is I've been looking hard for domain names. I did find one that is growing on me, but the .com is not available. This is lifeadventures.travel. So that one is available, and I did purchase that. The .com is not being used, but GoDaddy has a price on it of $17,000 something. So I'm not ready to do that. But any thoughts on, first of all, on using a .travel? Do you like Life Adventures?
I don't dislike Life Adventures. .travel is actually good for the kind of thing that you're trying to do. .travel is good. The thing that I would still encourage you to look for is a shorter name.
They're very hard to find.
You have to be creative. You have to do some spins on.
Yeah, I was even trying earlier in the week because I went on a trip to Tanzania early in the year, and so I was trying to find, cool words in Swahili, like travel or wanderer or adventurer, but even those are all taken.
Well, don't forget the names like Google and Yahoo don't mean anything. They can be, derivatives of certain concepts and something that you just kind of word play with. So.
All right. So I'll keep looking, but for now I have life adventures that travel.
Okay.
So I started also thinking, and I don't know if this is a distraction from the core idea or not, right? There is I don't know if you want to call it a movement of a lot of folks now that they can work remotely and in some cases permanently or long term to move away from expensive places like Silicon Valley to live in more live in less expensive, higher quality of life cities, or cities and towns. So I had a conversation yesterday with somebody in New Mexico in their economic development department for the whole state. And that was a very helpful conversation. And one of the things I was talking to her, Kristen, about, right, is economic development has traditionally focused on bringing companies to a state or to an area. But what about just trying to bring people that already have jobs?
So Abe, look at the startup ideas for the post-COVID world distributing the workforce post. I've dealt with this as a separate opportunity.
Okay. Do you see?
And that's a different business idea.
So you don't see combining the two?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good idea to combine the two, but I think that is an idea as well, and I think there's a very interesting possibility within that also.
Okay. All right. So that's that. So your thoughts are to use hotels versus like Airbnb or short-term rentals. Is hotels the best way to go, do you think?
You can use Airbnb, but I think Airbnb is going to do it themselves. So, I think Airbnb is going to try to do something like this with their inventory. And they're kind of more set up to do that themselves. I don't think they need you for that. But the hotels do. The hotels hotels operate differently, and the online travel agencies that deal with hotels operate differently. So I think this is the possibility of doing something with hotels is actually where the gap would be, is my guess. But you have to validate that. Okay.
I had a conversation. So what I'm thinking at the moment is that I want to start by putting together a trip to like in the Santa Fe area as my first goal. And I'm thinking about aiming, of course, with COVID, nothing is very, clear about what's going to be a few months from now. But I was thinking of aiming to do something in March of next year.
Why are you thinking about trips? You're not doing one trip. You're developing a body of inventory and relationships with enterprises who are going to use that inventory and set up, this kind of travel relationships. It is not the construct with which to think about this is not a trip.
Okay. So do I need to not talk to local hotels? So I had a conversation. I'm sorry.
You will need to talk to hotels in whatever geography that you want to work with. If you want to do Santa Fe, you can do Santa Fe. Santa Fe has a lot of hotels, and I think people are not going to hotels right now. And you could talk to these hotels and see if they buy into this idea, they like this idea, and then you need to get a corporate partner with which to start this process, or a set of corporate partners with whom to start the process. But you're going to need to put together inventory on both sides of this marketplace. It's a two-sided marketplace that you're putting together.
Okay. Like my one conversation with a fairly good-sized hotel that is owned by Hilton in New Mexico and called Thunderbird Resort. They were offering only like a 15% discount. So I don't know what expectations I should have, what cost.
What we're talking about is long-term rentals. It's not a question of 15% discount. It's a question of a different pricing for a long-term rental. If it's a 1 month rental, what are they going to charge, and what are the facilities that they need to provide to make that work?
Okay. All right. So I have a lot more work to contact hotels. Is any kind of travel agent certification for me, would that be useful, or is that a distraction?
I don't think you need that.
Okay.
You're setting up an online travel agency like a Hotels.com or a TripAdvisor, or Airbnb, except it is a different value proposition.
Okay. So I need to focus on if I brought, 20 people per month to a hotel for a month at a time, right? What kind of discounts, what kind of costs they would have, what kind of facilities they would provide.
Yeah, and go through the post that I wrote in detail and go through every single aspect that I've talked about. You have to think through every single aspect, and you need to validate and discuss all those aspects with the hotels.
Okay. All right. So I can do that. So is Amy...
And you have to do the same thing on the corporate side. Is like if we put together an inventory of hotels who are willing to work with us in this mode, what would you be interested, etc. How would you think about it, and so on. Do I need to also be providing, quote, added value, like arranging, sightseeing trips or arranging for... No.
Nothing?
I don't think so.
Just match hotels with corporates?
Yeah, but the details of that need to be figured out. You're thinking just match hotels with corporate, but there's a lot of details. The people who want to work remotely, the hotels need to be equipped to handle that, whether it's food or, working space. Is there working space in the rooms? Are the rooms large enough? Or do they need, internet connection to be able to do video conferences and everything? So that's, it's a, you have to think through all the details of that.
Okay. Is there a cost target that you would think of, or not yet?
Have you gone through the post that I published? It talks about it in a lot of detail, what the nuances are. So I think what I would like you to do at this point is start really following the post that I wrote, start putting together, maybe a pitch slide deck, and start doing it formally. You're kind of shooting from the hip right now. Don't do that.
Okay. Are you talking about more than that one blog post?
No, that's all I published on this topic.
Okay. I've read through that a number of times.
I've provided numbers and details, but I think if you kind of go through that line by line, you can develop a questionnaire for both sides. For each side, you can develop a questionnaire for the hotel side. You can develop a questionnaire for the corporate side, and then you can start talking to the hotels. You can start talking to the HR departments of corporations and so on, progressive corporations who are thinking along these lines, like the Twitters and the Facebooks, and tech companies, I think, are thinking. And if you're thinking about starting this with New Mexico, you could do the American West, especially if you start with the Silicon Valley companies, maybe Silicon Valley, maybe Seattle, and tech companies in the West, and you develop a portfolio in the West, whether it's New Mexico or, Arizona, Utah, Montana, etc. There's a lot of interesting properties, and ski season is coming up. There are national parks, so on and so forth. So there's fly fishing. There's all kinds of activities that may be interesting to tie into that. As you think it through, like what are people coming for? What kind of things? What are the search engine parameters? So one post that I would suggest you read through is Web 3.0 equals 4C plus P plus VS. Have you read this post?
I'm sorry, Web 3.0, this is one of yours?
Yes, it is one of mine. Maureen, it's actually on the home page under Hot Topics. Maureen, could you share that with Abe in the public chat? So this gives you a framework of how to think of designing a website and a web experience.
Okay.
So if you apply this framework, you will have a lot of insight into how to develop this in a meaningful way.
Okay.
So vertical search, for instance, is going to be something that you're going to need to think through is, what are the search parameters on which people want to search? So if you go to a hotels.com gives you a whole lot of filters to search on the basis of. What are the equivalent filters that you need to provide when you are providing something along, a lot of it is going to be what hotels.com already has, but I think there will be additional features that are going to be specifically applicable to your context, and you need to think through all of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at hotels, I was looking at some of their filters, like do they have a kitchenette or
right.
and stuff like that. Again, I was thinking that I needed to provide more than just hotels, but.
Well, if you start thinking about what does it take for somebody to live for a month in one place, there's definitely the basics of the hotel and the arrangements in the hotel, the working arrangement, whether it's in the room or in some other working space, internet connection, high bandwidth, high quality internet connection, food. People are not going to eat every night 3 meals or every day 3 meals a day outside. There needs to be, food provisions for that period. And then if you want to include activities, you could look at including activities that could be a value addition, like what kinds of activities draw people to a place, Yeah. So.
Okay. Do you see a target cost, or is this too early?
Well, cost is going to vary from the standard of hotel, right? Hotels come in all forms, all shapes. So I think, you kind of have to think about what is your target audience. Is it the, engineer, a very well-paid engineer in a tech company? That's somebody who's going to be able to afford a reasonably, well-priced. They're not looking for very cheap, $20 motel. They're looking for a quality experience. So I would kind of position it for a high quality experience, not some shabby little motel kind of experience.
Okay.
Because remember, we're talking about knowledge workers only. Only the knowledge workers who can work remotely are in our target audience. The TAM only applies to people who can work remotely.
Okay. Do you see doing something? So if we're bringing, 20, 50 people to Santa Fe, for a month. I don't know if they would come from one company or across multiple companies, but creating a quote community among those people so that they can interact with each other. So that's valuable.
Yes, I think that would be very interesting. I think that would be very interesting. The community aspect has great potential, and that's why I pointed you to the Web 3.0 equal to 4C plus P plus VS. You should think about context, community, content, commerce, personalization, vertical search, and each of those have their implications in the context that you are working in. So I think applying the framework would be helpful for you to think through what are the features and functions of this, online travel agency company.
Okay. When you posted your blog article, whatever, a couple of months ago, did anybody reach out to you that's interested in this idea? Because I would love to have somebody to partner with,
No, I haven't had anybody reach out on this idea, no.
Okay. All right. Do you see, is this a kind of a bootstrapped idea, or?
We have to start bootstrap. Nobody's going to finance anything until you put this thing together. Now, one thing you should think about, if you want to, I think it's a good idea to get a partner or a couple of partners. I think you should kind of create a spec for whom you're looking for in terms of partnership. Like, what skill set do you have and what skill set are you looking to bring in? People with online travel agency backgrounds would be interesting to partner with for this one. You kind of get some domain knowledge. On the other hand, people who have sold to HR departments of large companies is another skill set that you may want to bring in. So those are possibilities to bring in somehow.
Okay. All right. I've got enough to think about.
So I'm going to give you one other interesting tip. So LinkedIn lets you publish your own posts, right? So you can post something on LinkedIn, you can share an article, and you can say something that you're looking for. So you could share this post and say that I'm thinking of building on this idea and I'm looking for partners with such and such background. And in parallel, you could search for people with the kind of background you're looking for on LinkedIn. And if you find people that you're particularly interested in from those backgrounds, you could tag them. And they will know that you have, you are trying to draw their attention. And then you can start a conversation. You can even start a public conversation on the topic and see what kind of energy you can generate. And based on that, that might lead to, people joining your team.
Okay. I had a conversation with one person that I think would be perfect, but she's kind of not terribly interested. But she has her own luxury travel business. She's been an entrepreneur. She's worked in private equity, and she has a Stanford MBA.
Well, if she already has a business of her own, people who have businesses of their own are not the kind of people who are going to abandon their business and go, work on something else with somebody else. That's an unlikely situation.
Okay.
You're most likely looking for people who want to start a new business and have some domain knowledge in your area and are passionate about the area in which you're trying to build a business.
Okay. All right. Okay, this was very helpful. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Okay, we are going to go to Kashika Arora. Kashika, go ahead with your pitch.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Yes, my first happy Durga Puja to you.
You too. Just be safe. Please do not go out and get into super spreader events.
No, I'm absolutely at home.
Okay.
All right. So my first a small introduction about myself. I'm from Kolkata, and I've been working since 2012. I have my own pet management company, where we groom pets. We do their crashing. We used to have the clinic and pathology as well as events for them, as
Mm-hmm.
well as bakery. So this is a small thing that I used to do. So we have, I had actually deleted my Facebook account, but we have the Instagram ID which I've attached. If you could go to the next slide. All right. So the problem which I started was I was 19 when I started it, and there were no veterinary hospitals or no setups or no grooming salon in our city. And that's how I went to Thailand and did my pet grooming course, where I started. So the problem that I faced in Calcutta was, first, there's no veterinary hospital. Second, there is nothing under one roof. Like, a grooming salon is somewhere else, a pathology is somewhere else, a veterinary clinic is somewhere else, and no hospital at all. If I want to admit my pet, I don't have a facility that in Calcutta. And the third problem
Really?
after doing,
There's a
yes, ma'am.
veterinary hospital in Calcutta. That's interesting.
No, ma'am. Yeah, there's no veterinary hospital, and the ones which are clinics that are working are just like you take the dog, you get the checkup done, and you get them back. So if anything,
Yeah.
so most of the dogs die in the night period because there is no observation, there are no vets, and even if you call them, they don't pick up calls. So basically, all 90% of the death, according to the statistics that I've seen, die between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. That is the death time because there is nobody to attend. So when I started this, I had a lot of passion and a lot of aim. I have 22 pets of my own. But again, the city lacks a lot of fund. And I guess you know about Calcutta and the state and how we are not developing according to the way others are. And a lot of people are looking for jobs, but they leave the city and go away because there are no job opportunities and, there are no business opportunity because a lot of, even when I want anyone to invest here, they are saying, Calcutta, we don't want to be a part of. Because of a lot of communities and a lot of politics which goes on. Can you go to the next slide, ma'am? All right. The idea was first to have a change, but then again, I had to shut my business down in this COVID period because clients were not turning in, and I did not have enough funds because I had started with 10 lakh rupees from my parents, and I didn't have enough funds to do, so I had to shut down after running for 8 periods. So what I thought that if I have to help animals, I need to first make humans financially very stable because humans are not very stable here. The idea what I wanted to put in, like suppose if someone wants to start a small business, like a bookstore or a cafe or a medical store or a grocery shop, the fund that they require to start it, the banks don't provide because banks will only provide either you have a collateral or you have a business and you need to show their ITR file. Otherwise, they do not give loans for business. Even personal loans are not given if you want to start a business. So I wanted to initiate something where we can provide small loans to people, where from it might start from 50,000, it can go up to 10 lakhs. Because after that, if you have a big business and a unique idea, there are a lot of investors that put in, with a lot of ideas. But the ones who do not want investors and just want small loans and want to start something, because otherwise they're leaving the city and going away. So when we are giving funds without collateral, I know there's a lot of risk involved. To solve this, we will be as a partner because I personally am an MBA in marketing. So we will be a partner in that firm, whatever they start, and we're going to be as a shareholder till the time they do not become stable enough to either pay back our loan by interest, or if they can't, we can, take over the business if they can't take over. So that, there is no risk factor when we put in money for these small businesses. Can you be in the next slide now?
Let me give you some feedback on this idea.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one is what you're trying to do is a microfinance. It's not even microfinance. It's basically a small business bank. And you have no banking experience. So where are you going to get money from? No one's going to give you money to start up a small business bank based on your background. You just don't have the background for it. And I'll tell you why. A simple thing that you just said about that you're going to own these businesses, and if they don't pay it back, you're going to take over this business. Banks don't take over businesses, and that doesn't work. That is a very bad idea. And the minute you say something like that, you basically explain, kind of display how little you understand banking. So I would strongly discourage you from trying to start a bank.
All right. Okay. I had this thing in mind because the main aim to do this is because I wanted to have a veterinary hospital, which was my aim to do it. And
that's a completely different business. If you want to have a veterinary hospital, work on a veterinary hospital business idea. Don't work on a bank business idea. Those are two different businesses, and one has nothing to do with the other.
All right. But ma'am, according to me, what I was thinking that if we start something like that in Calcutta, it is not going to last or not going to give us the profits that we expect because of people are not financially very stable here.
No, that is not the question. The question is, are there enough people with enough money that you can cater to who can afford your services? If you want to create a veterinary hospital, it will have to be positioned to people who are wealthy in Calcutta and affluent at the minimum and can afford that service. And there is such a segment in Calcutta for sure. So that's your target audience, and then that's whom you sell to. You don't sell to everybody and their mother. You sell to a very specific segment.
Right, ma'am. But ma'am, the amount is very low compared to the investment involved in making a veterinary hospital.
What is the investment involved in making a veterinary hospital?
Ma'am, around 5 CR.
Well, unless you have friends and family who are willing to invest in something like this, I don't see institutional investors investing in this. So the way you can do it potentially is partner up with a bunch of vets who share your vision and create some sort of a cooperative. Like each vet puts in a certain amount of money, and you have maybe 20 vets who are going to be part of this hospital, and each of them put in a certain amount of capital, and you have a, basically management-owned hospital. That's viable.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. But yeah, ma'am, the problem here is that those 20 vets will not work together. They will want to have their separate clinics, then having one veterinary hospital.
Well, if you can't find 20 vets who are willing to work in a hospital together, then your project is not viable. You're going to need vets, otherwise how can you have a hospital without vets?
Yes, ma'am. They can work under salary, but they will not work as a part of the institution.
Have you checked that?
I did.
What process did you follow to check that?
Ma'am, so 8 years I was here, so I approached almost 500 vets across India, which I wanted to open. When last year when my pet died because of liver cancer, that is when it's been a year, Ashtami date he had passed away. So I was trying to find out that if I can make something like this, because none of the vets were available in the middle of the night. And I went to Chennai, I went to Bangalore, I went to Bombay, Delhi, as well as Calcutta. Everyone had the same thing, that if you want to work as a salary basis, we'll work. But as to put in our money for a veterinary hospital, we are not interested. Okay. We better have our own small clinic than doing this.
Then I think you're getting your answer that this is not something that you will be able to fund with institutional investors. You are passionate. This is what you're passionate about, really. It's the vet hospital or the vet clinic idea that you're passionate about. So nothing can happen unless you can bootstrap your way to some level of validation. So you're taking a capital-intensive idea. A hospital is a capital-intensive idea. 5 crores is not a small amount of money. So, I just don't see this idea being viable. I don't think you'll be able to, unless you are yourself a vet who has capital and who's willing to put in the money yourself. I mean, I can see some vet who wants to expand beyond, who already has a clinic and who wants to expand beyond the clinic and create a bigger footprint. That's the person who's likely to do something like this. You may not be the right person to do this idea.
All right.
Okay. All right. Frederick is on the call. I don't see Frederick. So Maureen, are we done more or less with the, okay, got it. Well, so I think we are done with the scheduled programming. I know Frederick wanted to chat, but he's traveling from his office to his home, so we won't be able to do his segment right now. You know what I'm going to do is walk you through how to use 1 million by 1 million. If Frederick shows up, I will tackle his segment after that. In the meantime, we can also start Q&A. So please start asking your questions in the public chat. And if you would like to dial in, I'll put up the dial-in numbers shortly. If you like what we're doing here, as you saw with Kashika, I gave her very, very clear, very, unfiltered feedback, very candid, honest feedback on what I think of her situation. So if you like that kind of honest, direct, constructive feedback, because, what we don't want is for you to spend a lot of time and energy on an idea that is not going to go anywhere. There's no way of getting it somewhere. And if there isn't, then I will tell you that. And if they're making mistakes in strategy, I will tell you that. And so on. So if you like this approach of very, roll up your sleeves, very honest, direct feedback, this is a good place for you. And if that's not what you want, then this is not a good place for you. So for resources, go to 1mby1m.com. There is a blog that is free, obviously, and you will learn a lot just by following the blog. The Entrepreneur Journey series on the blog is extremely rich, and you can basically follow the journeys of hundreds of entrepreneurs, and you will learn a lot just by, if every day you set aside 30 minutes to just read a couple of 3 Entrepreneur Journeys case studies and think about them, you'll learn a lot just by that. The book series is built on top of the blog series on specific topics. So we have Entrepreneur Journeys on different topics, and you're welcome to learn from that as well. These roundtables happen every week. You're very welcome to attend as often as you want. The full acceleration program is 1M by 1M Premium, and that's for extensive methodology guidance. We have this kind of roundtable consulting sessions, strategy consulting, mentoring, coaching, whatever you call it. We have a terrific curriculum, digital curriculum that you can use from anywhere in the world at your own time, at your own pace. We do help you with financing. We help you with business development. We help you with media relations. 1M by 1M self-assessment is our strategic planning sheet. It's a tool that's available for free on our website. It's a set of questions that you should ask yourself. These are also the due diligence questions that investors are going to ask you. So if you're thinking of raising money, make sure you can answer these questions. If you get stuck on any methodology element, go to 1M by 1M Basic, which is our curriculum-only option, and start learning from the curriculum so that you can start answering, these questions. That's it. So we suggest that you look through the website and go read the descriptions of the various parts of the program, messages, video messages, FAQs. Look at the curriculum. The curriculum is described in great detail. It is a case study-based curriculum. We teach in case studies and video lectures. And our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. If off the bat you need $1 million or $500,000 and you can't do anything without that money, that is a no-go situation because it's very difficult to raise that kind of money. That's it. We have 4 more free roundtables coming up before Thanksgiving. And then we also have 5 more online rendezvous on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter Live coming up on before Thanksgiving as well. So we can go to Q&A. These are the call-in numbers. I see question. First question from Lois is, what do you all think of an adult daycare facility post-COVID? Yeah, sure. Adult daycare is a proven model. It is something that you're going to have to figure out how to put together, how to finance, etc. The model works. So while you're getting your questions together, let me introduce you to Irina Patterson, who will help you with answering questions about the 1M1M program. Feel free to call her. All right. Any other questions, comments? And Frederick has not made it, right? Okay, Maureen, you're going to have to put Frederick in the next private roundtable. And that's it for today. I will see you next time then. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.